Welcome back to Kerry Horsemanship. We're filming here again this morning at the JJ Ranch. We got us a nice, cool, brisk morning. We've brought our little 2-year-old Hollywood back out here. We showed this horse yesterday with his 4th ride. We took him outside for the first time. And really all we were concerned about that first day was just kind of getting him out of that round pen, coming through those trees back there. We had a couple draws that we crossed. We were just trying to get this horse out, give him the feel of what it's like to be outside that round pen. Little horse really did well, really followed some direction, kind of like I'd planned. You know, he wasn't really soft in my hand, but he tried to find his way, and we got it done. Okay, we're gonna start with something that's pretty effective, and as we go, we'll refine these things and get them where they look a little better. Today, my plan is going to be a little more specific. I've got some natural obstacles right here in this area where we're at. If you've never had the opportunity to walk into a Kansas yucca plant, then you really can't understand the benefits of using that to train a horse. And here's what it's going to do for me. The natural resistance that a horse's body carries, when you go to pick up on them, if they don't know how to carry a soft feel through those reins, then the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to drain the forward motion out of your horse's feet. Somehow we've got to figure out to teach these horses, as we pick up on them and they learn to follow that feel, we got to keep these feet moving. What's going to happen is I ask this horse to flow around these yucca plants. As he steps into them, they're actually going to act like my inside leg or my spur, so to speak, because those little leaves on that yucca plant are pretty sharp. You walk into them with a pair of shorts on, you won't walk into them twice. So all I'm going to do is let that horse feel those leaves on that plant, and as he brushes against them, he's naturally going to start to step away. Okay? And if I've got to steer him through a couple of them, pretty soon he'll figure out how to move around it. That's going to bring me back to the idea of my horse is going to learn to move around an object and carry that forward motion through his front end and his hind end at the same time. Next thing you know, I'll be able to bring him off those yucca plants. I'll be able to get the same thing out here, just moving him off my inside leg. I'm going to give you a quick position of my hands. Now when I'm riding, I try to always keep my hands out here in front of my saddle horn, because as I find my hands coming back past my saddle horn, I find myself pulling more on my horse than I should be. And when I keep my hands short on my reins, or I move my hands from rein to rein to get short, and I keep those hands in front of my saddle horn, it lets me stay balanced in my seat. Or if this horse right there where he's leaning into that bit a little bit, doesn't pull me off balance. So your hands are supposed to stay in front of you. Now as I get to flowing around here, I'm just going to kind of make me a big circle out here and trot him, maybe lope him a little bit to get him warmed up. Watch where my hands are going to stay. I might get fairly short on both these reins, but I'm going to try to stay with a little bit of slack in them here. This horse is going to find places where he leans on them. I'm going to pick up that left rein and just trying to direct that nose back here to the left a little bit and give it right back to him. We showed yesterday on that 9-year-old rescue mare how we didn't want to hold on to those reins and hold that pressure any longer than we had to. See, I'm going to pick up and add some pressure right here on my right rein. You see where that right hand is? It's up and to the inside. And when I can get that horse to come off that a little bit, then I'll turn loose of it. And I'm just going to go back and forth here. Try to get this horse to where he'll follow that feel a little bit. And as I feel this horse start to relax a little, he's not drifting to the outside so much, then what you'll notice is I'll be able to keep my hand in this position longer, because I won't have to be picking up on him so much to redirect. For the second day outside on a colt, we're still trying to get these horses where they can find their feet on this uneven ground. So I need to give them as much opportunity as I can. Right there's a little stumble. I need to give him as much time where I don't have a hold of him, because what I'm saying when they're slacking these reins and I'm traveling across this ground, it's your responsibility to pick them feet up and place them where they need to be. And if you've ever come outside on a horse that's never been across some rough terrain, you have a pretty good idea of what it's like to drain your whistling abilities out, because your butt will be so tight, because every time that horse picks his front feet up and goes to set them down, because that ground's not even, he's going to be stumbling. Nothing better to me than a horse that's grown up, had the opportunity to spend some time outside in the pasture. Maybe he didn't live in a stall. Pretty good hole right there. There's pretty good holes right here. Okay, I've got a bunch of cactus right in here I'm going to stay out of. I've got my yucca plants over there I'm going to come back to. And believe it or not, I've got a bunch of holes right in here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going very fast. These holes aren't real deep. I'm just going to trot around right here for a second and let him find them. If he stumbles a little bit, if he sticks a foot in one of them, I'm going to try to not have a hold of him when he does it. But at this speed, he's not going so fast that he couldn't recover. Right here's about 3 holes in a row. There we go. So you see how I kind of set that up. I'm not trying to be mean to him. I'm not trying to break his leg. These holes aren't very deep at all, but there's just enough there to cause this horse to stumble. Why not make use of them? This hole here's a little bit bigger. That one right there. Now that's perfect placement right there to stick that right front foot in that hole. He saw it. I was trying to put that foot in it just so he'd realize he needs to start paying attention for stuff like that. So I'll come right back to it again. And we'll see if he tries to avoid that or if he lets me put that foot right back in it. So here he's saying, no, I can't get in that. Now, most of the time when we come out here and we're trying to build some confidence outside, I can honestly say most people don't ride around looking for holes, trying to get their horse to stick their foot in them. But if you'll think about what's going to happen out here with these horses, and you think about what you're trying to build in your horse's mind, out here, where you can really build some confidence, to be loping around, guys, it's as important, if not more, for this horse to be paying attention and know what happens when he sticks his foot in a hole than it is for me to know. Okay, and that's all I'm trying to do is introduce him to it at a slower speed, so when we get to loping around here, he's going to have a little more idea, maybe be a little more prepared. We'll move back here just a little bit. Now, I might even be thinking this, if I'm loping around out here where there's a bunch of cactus, it's really to my benefit for this horse to know how to place his feet and not fall on his nose. Now, I don't have a lot of control yet. Again, this is the 5th ride on this colt, 2nd ride outside. So for me to ask for a specific lead, I really don't have the tools built in this horse yet. So as I feel this horse's hip drift from one side to the other is when I'm going to ask this horse to lope off. But what I'm looking for today versus yesterday is when this horse drifts out with his shoulder, I'm going to be trying to pick that shoulder up just a little bit and offer a little bit more direction as he starts to drift. Now, my direct rein is my primary rein right now. I'll use my indirect rein just to put it there. It's not going to mean much to him, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to him today. From here on, he'll be seeing that. Eventually, he'll pick up on it. But my inside rein is going to be my primary rein. When this horse's shoulder drifts out, I'm going to pick that hand up and to the inside to bring that shoulder back to the inside. So again, my hand's going to come up and to the inside to help bring that shoulder back that direction. Now, the reason I like to lift my hands up, I've got to get this horse's weight to shift back to his hindquarters. I can't have him loping around out here throwing all his weight on his forehand. So as I'm lifting these reins up, I'm trying to encourage that horse to elevate just a little bit. There's that whole nice placement of that right foot. He trotted by that hole right there, and that right foot should have gone right in it. And he shortened that stride just so he could miss it. There we go, he did it again. So you see how I'm just using those little holes right there to really get this horse to pay attention. Now I'm going to lope off right here. There, he loped right over that hole. Now as I pick up right there and I'm trying to steer him a little bit to the left at the lope, he's really wanting to drift out. I'm going to try to get him to pass through that side of the circle. So I'm going to motivate him behind a little bit. Now I held on to that rein just long enough to get through that side of the circle. Here he's really leaning on it. So I'm going to have to give myself the advantage and get him off of it. We'll just change directions. The benefit of showing this colt having his second ride outside is this isn't just a green horse, guys. This is your 10-year-old trail horse that isn't very broke. Okay, you can't hardly lope them around out here, turn loose of them, and their shoulders, their rib cage, their hips not be drifting from one side to the other. So again, if I can turn loose of him, I'm only going to pick up when I need to. Now, we come around there a couple circles. I'm just going to bring him down, change directions, ask him to follow that nose with that shoulder right there, and then I'll just walk off this way and let him think about what he just did. I'm constantly riding around out here looking for something, whether it's these holes on the ground right over here, something that's going to let me spark this horse's attention, not just to what I'm doing, but to where I'm at. We've got us sounds like a pretty big band of coyotes back here in the back. Kind of caught his attention. So now I'm back at loping my left lead. I know what it is. He just wants to get over there and get a closer look at the cameras. As I come around there on this half of the circle in the left lead, he really wants to drift out. I'm really going to try to focus over there where I want to go. That time was a lot better. So we'll pick him up right here. Very nice. We'll let him rest right here for a second. We're building effective into pretty, step by step. Getting a little bit more so far today than what we got yesterday. Made use of these holes. I'm standing right between those two holes that I was really using just a little bit ago. Brought that horse down here and circled him right around this one. He's starting to watch for that now. All that does, guys, is it lets me go out here and lope across these pastures where maybe the grass isn't this short. Most of these pastures around here, the grass is pretty tall and maybe you can't see those holes, but your horse can if he'll learn to pay attention to them. We'll give him a break here for a second. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, folks. All right, let me set this up before we move on. Here's the scenario. We come out here for the second time on this 2-year-old being outside. We've got very little control. We pick up on a reins at a lope. We want to steer to the left. He's still drifting to the right. We pick up on both reins. We don't have much. But yet here I am saying we're supposed to come out here and have fun and be whistling. The funny thing about it is, if we can find some confidence to come out here and realize what we need from these horses, what's important, and what we don't have, we're working to build. Okay, maybe I don't ride up here on this bluff right behind me and ride right along the edge of that rascal until I've built a little more control in this horse. But down here where I've got some room for that drift, there's no reason to panic, there's no reason to get upset about it, okay? I'm just gonna keep whistling and keep flowing around here. I'm just working to get things to work a little better for me. And we're gonna slip back here and use these yucca plants a little bit. I've been working the whole time trying to get my legs to mean just a little bit more to this horse. But at this point, his 5th ride, 2 rides outside, I don't want to be coming on too strong for too long with my legs. So I'm going to find something like this nice yucca plant that's got some little, almost like some little points on the end of these leaves, that if this horse steps into them, I'm just going to kind of turn him into them, and you'll see how he'll try to avoid that right there. You walk into those with a pair of shorts on one time, you won't come back the second time. And I want this horse to figure out the same thing. Now this one's tall enough that it's really going to get him, and all it's going to say to him is back off and give me a little space. That's all I'm trying to get my legs to mean to this horse. Okay, and when I'm coming around this plant here to my right, basically this plant is acting like my right leg right here. If he wants to just drift right through this leg, he's going to have to drift right through that plant, okay? So that plant is helping this horse realize that he needs to move around it. It's big enough that he's got to maintain some forward motion, front end and hindquarters, to get all the way around it. But yet I don't have to work near as hard with my leg alone to get the same thing accomplished while I've got this little plant right here. Now I'll use my leg right before he gets there because I want him to start operating off my leg. But I'm not going to use it so much that I just make him mad. Now I need a little more life right here, so I'm going to liven him up just a little bit. And we'll flow over here to this one to the left. A little more life right here. I'm just going to liven him up. Forward motion is the key to draining the resistance out of your horse. I can only get my horse so soft if he's standing still. But the more I can get these feet to move around, the more places I can find where they want to naturally get stuck, the softer I can get him. Now that to me is something so simple as we're loping around this ranch that we can use to our benefit on a horse like this green. Maybe let's go back to our 10-year-old trail horse that we've been riding down the trail for 7 or 8 years. He's just not that broke, and our legs don't mean anything to him either. You know, I see people all the time riding down the trail and they get going through some trees and that trail's pretty narrow. And next thing you know, I hear somebody hollering because their horse just drug their knee off on the tree because he wouldn't scoot over to go around it. Okay, I can use a tree the same way I'm using these yucca plants to teach my horse how to get around it. The good thing about this yucca plant is if he crowds it in the beginning, he's not going to drag my knee off on anything. So I'll start here, and then what this is going to help build my horse, then I'll go carry it to some trees. Just make it a little easier on my legs. And we'll just come back here and head towards these cameras. And as I work my way to the camera, all I'm going to be asking this colt to do is bend from one side to the other. And I'm going to try to leave a set of tracks on the ground with his feet, similar to what you might see a snake leave in some sand. Okay, but for him to find that pattern, he's got to learn to bend his body and keep his feet moving. Now, every time I pick up my reins, I'm going to use my leg. Right here, he's bent to the right. As I go to bend him back to the left, I'm going to introduce my leg right before I pick that rein up so I can get that rib cage to start moving back over, and vice versa this way. We'll come on around this plant here. So here's my right leg, now my right rein. Now here's my left leg, now my left rein. Now my right leg, my right rein. Left leg, left rein. Right rein, right leg, right rein, I'm sorry. Fluid forward motion is the key to draining the resistance out of your horse. Now that's why you whistle right there. We had 0 reverse yesterday. All he really wanted to do was just root his nose out. Today things are starting to make a little more sense. See, we spend all this time trying to get these horses' bodies to turn loose, so in the end we can straighten them back up. But when we straighten this horse's body back up, I'm going to have softness built from head to tail. Okay, so I've got a method to my madness here. I'm using that bend in my horse to work on that resistance that wants to drain the motion out of my feet. Okay, if I can keep that horse's feet moving through that spot where he wants to get stuck, then we can really get this horse to soften up. I'm really excited about what this little horse has done here these 2 days being outside, and I'm really looking forward to bringing him back out. We're just going to keep working this horse day by day so you guys can see the progression, so you guys can see the things that we're going to start to add to him day by day. And above all, my #1 goal is I got to come out here and I got to have fun, okay? If you're not having fun, it ain't worth it. So think about what you need to be working on with your horse. Think about some of the things that you need to be working on. Go practice your whistling a little bit and tune in to us next week. We'll see you then.